Today, I'm with Nicolas, the CEO of Sortlist, and we're going to talk about how to explode his LinkedIn profile. Just before we build his entire LinkedIn strategy from scratch, I'm probably going to ask you, Nicolas, to introduce yourself, and then we're going to talk about your personal challenges and the goals you have for LinkedIn.
All right, thanks, Mish. I'm super happy to be here with the real goat of LinkedIn. I'm Nicolas, one of the founder and CEO of Sortlist. So Sortlist, we help service firms and agency to generate more business. How do we do that? We have like 600,000 monthly visitors on our websites.
Okay, not bad.
That type like web agency New York, web agency Paris, all the language. And what's quite interesting is that we slowly switch towards going from a marketplace towards a SaaS product.
Okay.
That basically, instead of having agency that waits for leads, now we build tools for them.
Okay.
So it's super efficient.
Okay. Because the Sortlist is, I think, one of the biggest marketplace of agencies in the world.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it's top one or top two.
Yeah, in Europe, definitely number one. In the US, there is a competitor that climbs the number one spot, but only in the US for sure.
Okay. And then I guess that the way you were able to get as much traffic is from SEO.
Yes.
So what you were saying is like someone looking for a digital agency in a location, and
Yeah.
it's like if I'm looking for a marketing agency in Brussels,
Yes.
then there is a high likelihood that I will find you in the top one page.
Yes, exactly. And so that's how we grow. And like now it gets a lot from LLMs like ChatGPT, etc., which we are mentioned as a source, but brings less traffic to our platform.
Okay.
And so that's why we go to the SaaS model. That's why LinkedIn is super important for me as well to build the brand and to generate more leads.
Okay, and so that was Sortlist, like the marketplace, and then you recently made the acquisition of Overloop,
Yes,
which is a sales engagement platform that's a multi-channel outreach platform.
exactly.
So that means you automate outreach across email, LinkedIn,
Yes.
and call.
You can connect like calls within the workflows, but it's mainly email and LinkedIn. A lot of our customers use LinkedIn like
Okay.
for prospection. Yeah, so you are an agency of any size. You just log in into Sortlist. We bring you the leads that fill in the form. We bring you traffic to your website because you can sponsor on the top. But now in the future, what we build with Overloop now is that you basically capture intent of which company is looking for an SEO agency, for instance, on the directory. And in one click, you'll be able to directly outreach to them.
Okay.
Which we are currently trying, and we see like massive conversion rate, obviously because it's a warm traffic and it's not like out of the blue. So it's basically, we go from pure outbound towards more intent-based outbound.
Okay. And so at the moment, like the entire group is making around 10 million per year?
Almost, yeah.
Okay. And so one question I also had before we jump onto the strategy is, so on the marketplace, because you have some data points, you're able to know who's looking for SEO agency, marketing agency, and so on. And then what you want to do is you want to use this information as a data point, so as a signal, so that people can then run some outreach and some prospecting.
Yeah.
But then with Overloop, are you then picking up some additional signals? So is it a case of, let's say I have my own lead generation agency.
Yeah.
I put my agency called like you on Sortlist.
Yes.
So now you're able to tell me, okay, these people are looking for lead generation agencies in say Brussels, Paris, or whatever. And then you'd be able to say, okay, so now I know this information, but would you even then layer some additional intent signals? Okay, for example, like you would be able to tell me, hey, this company is looking for an agency, lead generation agency. But on top of that, I see that they are hiring for SDRs or GTM engineers.
Yeah.
So I think they are very... is this like the whole goal?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So that's like I told you, we had a product meeting before. And so that's something we already have in beta. So if people want to test, we can already give them access. But typically new intent signals, you can see who interacted with a specific subject on LinkedIn. So let's say you post about GTM workflow or OpenClaw. You can directly find who interacted with those posts that match your ICP.
Okay.
And so, for instance, if you hunt for, I don't know, whatever your ICP is, you can plug in those signals and directly on autopilot, send them outbound campaigns. That works for LinkedIn, who interacted with you, your competitors, your team, whatever. But we also start to include signals like who was a new marketer in this company, who raised fund, you name it, a lot of signals.
Okay.
And for us, the more signal we bring to the tool, the higher the conversion rate.
Yeah.
And for sure, the warmest signals you can have is detecting the intent on the directory.
Yeah.
But there are tons of others. And our goal is to really build an AI agent that just work for your lead gen for your agency, because you know that for agencies, it's either we are too full, the feast, okay, too many clients, I don't know what to do. But then the switch to the famine, we don't have any leads, is almost, or sometimes it happens overnight. And so you see agency owners on the boat trip, and then the next day they're I don't know how I'm going to pay my team. So
I think what's tough with the agency business model, before we jump onto the LinkedIn, is what you mentioned is typically, you'll say, if you have one person that works inside of your agency, then perhaps you will be handling 6 accounts, right? And so it's you have 10 employees, then it means you can have 60 clients. And when you're at 61, 62, 63, then it becomes a bit difficult because some people have to work some extra hours and so on.
Exactly.
Then what usually happens is that then you're thinking, okay, I need to hire. And hiring doesn't come fast enough, as in hiring some good employees. So now you're in this sort of feast, not because it's too many leads, but more because it's too many leads relative to what you can actually deliver.
Exactly.
And then you have the opposite that happens. Even if, say, a month ago, you didn't have enough people, then you could have, say, 5-6 clients that just decide to leave. And now all of a sudden, there's just not enough clients for a good amount of employees. Now you need leads fast. And this is something I see with agencies. It's just this
roller coaster, agency roller coaster.
Yeah. And then typically they will just they will stop promoting or distributing their content as soon as they have too many clients, forgetting that this is something that actually doesn't last that long. Because this is something that you're...
Yeah, definitely. And it's lead gen is, but you go to the gym as well, it's you need to do the rep every single day to get the results you want, and obviously high result for sure. But sometimes when you are an agency owner with your pipeline, it's exactly the same. You need to do the rep every day, doing newbies. But most of the time, because of the cycles that you mentioned, and because an agency owner is tough, you need to think of the future, you need to think of new services, you need to serve clients, you need to produce content on LinkedIn, etc. Sometimes most of the time people forget about it, and it's a catastrophe if you are not proactive with that.
Okay, I would assume that the number one persona you want to attract on LinkedIn are B2B or digital agencies.
Yes.
Okay. And so at the moment you have 12,000 followers.
Yeah. By the time of this video, right now,
how many do you have today?
Almost 12K.
Almost 12K.
Yeah.
Okay. And what's the goal for the end of the year? As we are on the 3rd of March today.
Yeah, and always try to double. So I'd say 30K, it's all right. But then I saw that you had 61K. So am I ambitious enough? I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, so just so you know, my first year of LinkedIn, I went from 2 or 3K to 9K.
Okay.
And then I went from 9K to 30K in my second year.
Okay, hockey stick.
Yeah, exploded, right? I don't know if it's as easy because, with other platforms, the earlier you start and the more free reach you have. But I'd say that you being at 12K, and the edge you have over me when I did this big jump is a certain proof you have. Because you are a 8-figure CEO, which means that anything you say automatically holds more weight because it's, backed by the years of experience. While for me, I wasn't even a 7-figure CEO at the time. I was at 9K followers. And it's more so the LinkedIn that allowed me to generate a good chunk of opportunity.
Oh, really?
To the point,
So you would say that LinkedIn brought most of the growth of your agency?
Oh, yeah. Okay. I think 80% of our acquisition happened.
Still now?
Now it's perhaps a bit less, but like it's still above 60%. Yeah. Especially that now we have, I guess, something around like 300,000 followers combined as a team. So I have 67,000 myself today. And then my business partner is at 61,000. So just like both our accounts, we'd be generating 20 million impressions per year. And the impressions from LinkedIn, and like the beauty of LinkedIn for us as a GTM agency is that like one of the biggest persona you'll find on the platform will be the salespeople, will be the marketers, because like salespeople are here like selling on LinkedIn.
Yeah, exactly.
The business development directors. And so we have, but I think that for you it's the same case.
Yeah, it's similar.
Agencies are very, very active on there.
At least caught one. So now you 80% of your LinkedIn. Now it's going to be a bit more from Sortlist, right?
Yeah, actually this could be a pretty good angle.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so I'd say 30K is what you should strive for.
What do you think? Feasible?
Yeah, feasible.
Easy?
Not easy, but
Sweat and tears.
Sorry?
Sweat and tears.
You know, it depends because I think we had a discussion recently, like you had like a few posts that just like went completely crazy. And then from these few posts, you gained a few thousands of followers.
Yeah, exactly.
And so what you're going to do is you're going to sort of optimize, because like we cannot predict that a post is going to go viral, but you can put the ingredients together so that you are, you know, increasing the likelihood of posts going viral every day. And then like just a matter of numbers is like that idea of perhaps before your viral hit rate was one post out of say 20 perhaps, and then we're going to try to make it say 1 out of 5 or 6.
Damn.
Then if you are consistent enough throughout the whole year, you'd end up having say perhaps 40 viral hits, and this could mean, you know, like 40,000 more followers.
So the formula is posting a lot with the right ingredients.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I'm gonna be at 30K.
Yeah,
That's your promise.
That's for me.
That's the offer. Yeah. That's the offer. Okay.
I think it's like LinkedIn is a mix of art and science, and so there is some sort of formula as to how to make it work. And then obviously, it's a game of consistency. So you need to be publishing at least 3 times per week to sort of optimize your luck. Okay, somehow. And then also, it's a game of, I mean, if you're actually actively publishing 3 times per week, by the end of the year, you'll have over 100 posts, right? Like it's like 52 weeks, 3 times,
exactly.
150 posts. And so what that means is that by the 100th posts, you'll have, you know, you'll be filling the platform.
Yeah, exactly.
You'll feel that you are much better at it. Yeah.
You feel that you can smell whether a post will post.
Yeah. Now, I think I've published over 500 posts already.
Okay.
So sometimes I'm writing the post and then I'm like, I estimate 50K impressions, 400 likes. And then
it's right.
I do like a small cross gesture. Typically I'm like pretty close.
Really?
Like 8 times out of 10, I'm like on the right. Like if I say it's going to be like 300 likes or something, I typically am able to guess it pretty well, yeah.
And at your reach, do you flop sometimes?
I mean, so flop
is relative.
Is relative, right? And we can actually have a look at my accounts, but
you don't delete the flop.
I don't delete the flop. You know why? Because sometimes, like back in the day, LinkedIn used to be a platform where if you had a flop, then you would, like this is the post of today, so it's 3 hours ago. But then like if you had a flop, it would just like stay a flop. But now the algorithm works in a weird way where sometimes a flop just picks back.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like after a couple of days, it just...
Yeah, there was a weird bug where like 2 weeks after the publication, like you see the post and like it just increases. And so you look at like your most viewed post from the last 7 days and it's a post from last month and you're like, what happened?
Yeah.
This post didn't even perform, yeah. So I think like you just leave them all, you know, like, and also, you know what, I like the mentality of saying, if you have a flop and people see that you flopped, you know, you feel bad about it. And so you work like extra on the next post.
Yeah, okay.
Because you're thinking, okay, I don't want people to think that that's my level of...
sure.
Yeah. So yeah, so like here, for example, like I think that, so for me, a flop would be a post under 10,000 impressions. Because like I already have like publications now that just go below this amount.
They have 690 likes.
So this is because I'm talking about a trendy topic. So it's like
Still,
this
700 there.
yeah. And so yeah,
And you like your own post? Should I like my post?
this is a hack that's gonna come later.
Damn.
You like every one of your own posts, and you will repost each of your posts after 6 hours, so that you can get like 15% extra reach. But that's gonna be shown in front of some other people. The US wakes up, a bit after Europe, and now like the post is being shown in front of.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So like, so there are a few tricks that I'm gonna talk about later in the video.
Yeah.
But the whole idea is to say you'll be like publishing at the exact same time every day.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And you try to make it look like not the right, like not 9 a.m. It's like 9:03, 9:07, or you don't.
Yeah. Like I don't care that much, but it has to be say within the same 10-15 minutes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And like I got this from my friend Pierre Ruben. He has like 160,000 followers on LinkedIn. And he told me, you need to think about it like a TV show. And I was thinking, like, it doesn't make any sense. Why would me publishing at the same time boost my reach? But then at some point, like, I think you need to stop trying to be too smart and just listen to the people who've done it. And I was like, you know what? He's got over 100,000 followers. At the time, I had like maybe 30. I'm just going to listen to it. And then I just made the test. And just publishing at the same hour is just like more reach.
Really?
For some reason.
And then you just picked one time, like for instance, right now after today, I pick a time like 9 a.m. and I stick to it, or you try 9, 10, 11, you see what.
Yeah,
I know.
I think because it has to work for you. Okay, for example, I don't like 9 a.m. You know why? Because you know how sometimes you wake up, you've got some stuff to do, some urgent matters to handle, which means like it's very easy to miss the 9 a.m. window. But if you were saying I'm going to be publishing it at 11:30, which is my window, then it's like you have sometimes, like even if some urgency happens, like in the beginning of the day, you have a plane to catch or something, you still can manage to, like write something and publish it. And
because you publish just like, you don't schedule it, right? Or you
Yes, because this is something like you should never schedule them. You should always publish them manually because LinkedIn kills the reach when you schedule them.
Really?
Yeah. And so I've actually made that mistake sometimes, and then you would just see it like I will have these weeks. So as I was telling you, like I usually never have a publication that goes like below 10K impressions, So this would be almost a flop.
Relative.
Yeah, everything is relative, right? But then the idea is that so like I would have a week, everything has some decent reach, and then the only post that got scheduled and that was published on its own was below 10,000 impressions. Yeah. So
and your content looks great. I know you have a designer and stuff because it's like all the images and stuff.
Yeah, and that's I think something that's pretty important. It's part of talking about the packaging of your publication. It just makes a huge difference because if we look at the feed right here, then like you can easily compare what's happening with the feed. It's like you see that if there wasn't an image here, then we would just see like the hook. And so here it takes up the whole space, but just like a text post, like I think we might see one text post. Okay, like we see like images everywhere. But even like just text posts, just don't take it out. So you see it here, right? It's like just like those two lines. While here, you can actually entice people to read the post, thanks to the hook. And then on top of this, the image can serve as the second hook. So it's really part of the whole packaging. It's really trying to optimize the odds of people clicking on the see more button. Because, the way I think about LinkedIn is I think about it like a funnel. So it's like, first you've got the hook that's here. And the number one goal of the hook is to entice people to click on the see more button.
Okay.
But you can also use the image, because like if the image is sort of attractive, then it means more people stop on the publication, and then perhaps the image will make people want to click on the see more button, and so
that's the goal.
Click,
having them click.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because it's like first step, people click on the see more. Second step, they read the post and get value. Third step, they do the sort of actions you want them to do, whether it's some sort of here participating to a list bootcamp or commenting on a post. So that's the or following you exactly. So I suggest let's go on your profile. Let's see what you did. Okay, because I guess like the first thing also is your profile. It's like I like to think of my profile as a landing page. And so what that means is that typically whenever you're commenting or you're posting, for people to go and land on your website, they'll typically first land on your profile, and then from there, they'll land possibly on your website, right?
Okay.
Which means like it's a very important middle step between this. So here, founder and CEO at Sortlist Overloop AI. Okay, I like it. We had B2B service firms and agencies get predictable client acquisition with AI. I actually think pretty great.
I've done it before coming. That's the only thing I changed.
You didn't want to get criticized.
Just to suck. Like, I'm glad you like it. It's a bit better, right?
It's super nice. And then I see the banner also, building great business stories.
Not clear.
Yeah, I think not very clear, but I don't think it's a make or break. I don't think it's the most important bit, but it's just like building great business stories doesn't talk to me right now. And it's like I'm an agency.
Yeah, exactly.
On your persona. So if there was something on the lines of agencies get 5+ leads per week or something, I could be more attracted, even though I'll say that sometimes those taglines sound very salesy.
Yeah.
So I think there is a way to sort of frame that you help agencies in a sort of big way without being salesy to the point that you say, get this amount of leads.
Yeah, right.
So what's the tagline for Sortlist?
That's the tagline. Like, I explained, we come from a marketplace. Building great business stories was mainly targeted to companies looking for agencies, and that's tough. And
okay.
And I've always had that weird problem is, who am I talking to? And in the past, like before acquiring Overloop and going to lead gen for agencies for speed, I was mainly trying to attract marketing directors or SME as the owner to come on the platform with their project and briefing so that I could guide them to the right agency.
Okay.
What's very tough is that I was talking to CMOs of big brands, like huge brands, and at the same time to marketer of SMBs on one side. And then on the other side, I was talking to big agencies, smaller agencies, etc.
I see.
And this one was just mild. It was in the middle, which explained why you think like, okay, it doesn't resonate. It can generate. I mean, when you think about it, what I hear is that it can actually work for anybody.
Here. So
which used to be the case of my previous tagline, and which explain why I don't have a sharp angle. I mean, we'll see afterwards, but I feel that I'm trying to please everyone.
Yeah.
Which is probably an issue in terms of growing.
But yeah. It's like what the thing they say, appealing to everyone is equal to appealing to no one.
Yeah.
It's like you just find some sort of compromise. And the definition of a compromise is that nobody is happy.
Yeah.
Right? And so here I'm thinking, you told me like you have 600,000 monthly visitors on Sortlist. And so imagine if it was something along the lines of 600,000 people find agencies on Sortlist every month, something like this. I'm like, okay, I need to be on this platform.
Okay. So it's the best. I mean, people looking for agency would be happy, and then you would be happy saying, okay, there must be something good.
Imagine you say that, and then like you have some sort of call to action in the banner that says get listed for free, because we can get listed for free,
right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
there.
Damn, first.
It's good.
To my homework.
And then here we've got some call to action. You don't have a premium link.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, should I get one or not? Is it worth it or?
The interesting thing about having a LinkedIn premium profile is that you can add a custom button that people see under all of your posts, So you see how,
Like visit website or something.
yeah, you've seen that, right?
Yeah.
So for example, like, which means that it's just like,
I view my services.
oh wait, they changed the button again, because like, oh, that's annoying. So you see, I need to actually change that, because like for some reason LinkedIn just like change it on its own without saying. But here you need to edit the custom button, and then you say visit my website,
Okay.
and then like you make people go on your website, and then once I do that, so see, I'm happy I have done that. Once I do that, now as I reload, we should be able to say view my website or something, and yeah, it just means that, because if you think about it, on the feed,
It's like a data, right?
yeah, which is like if you were seeing my post on the feed, then you'd be able to click to one click without needing to click on my profile, and one click up here on my website, right? So
Do you measure that or not?
we sort of measure that, because in Google Analytics we're able to see the traffic that comes from organic social. So I could put some UTM tags and so on, but
You don't care.
yeah, no. I
Just brings business.
Yeah, I just know it's so consequential that the best practice would be to track it, but I'm like, I don't need to track LinkedIn to know that it's...
Yeah, exactly. You know, our best customers, they do that. They're like all in into the platform, and they're just like, I don't measure, I don't care, I know it works, that's it.
Yeah.
And most of the time, these are the best agencies. They don't try to manage attribution. They just go all in into one or two channels, and then they just know it.
Yeah, because I feel like if you have to measure it to know it works, then...
It doesn't work.
Yeah.
If there is a doubt, there is no doubt.
Yeah.
It's like hiring.
Because you typically know, right? It's like someone talks to your team, and then they'll say, it's like for us, it's like say, oh, we see you everywhere on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And on any given week, we'll have, say, 10 people that will say, we see you everywhere on LinkedIn, you know? I see people in the streets and they say, oh, I see you all the time on LinkedIn.
Really? In the street?
I mean, like people that I know, not...
Yeah, okay.
It's like I have gotten recognized like 2 or 3 times, you know? but like it's more like people who I know that are like, oh, I see you every time. And then I never see them liking my posts. And I'm like, oh, you see it?
Yeah, it's always the same. Why don't you like it?
Don't you like it? I need some help. I mean,
A like is a like.
So yeah, so your profile, I think like your profile is great. So like small changes with the banner, because also even for example here, if you're incorporating like the short like 600k visitors or something like this, then now all of a sudden there are some social proof that we see,
Yeah.
and we see it under each of your comments on each of your posts, and so it makes it like so yeah, it just makes it very difficult to ignore so benefits that we could get from following you or like talking with you. And then also it's like, if I know that there are 600,000 visitors that go on your website, then, and if you give advice on like how to better the agency and so on, I'm able to believe that you brought with enough agencies to the point that your advice means something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, social proof so that they build trust.
Okay, next, let's look at some of your posts. What I want to do is like, I want to look at some and then like just criticize them.
Okay, no ego.
Yeah, no ego. So what you're gonna do is you're just gonna go through them, and then you're gonna explain like to me like what was the sort of idea for the post.
Yeah.
Because obviously like some posts are more like storytelling based. Some posts are like, I mean, the goal is to generate leads. And sometimes it's just like you just
YOLO.
to
Just YOLO.
yeah. So because like here, for example, I see that you were on a podcast.
Yeah.
See, I really like the pod, but
Yeah, that's great, huh?
you're welcome.
You did the homework.
So okay, so like this is like a storytelling post.
Yeah.
And so one question, because you publish in both French and English, right?
Yeah, so I used to post only in French because I was like, okay, competition in English is super intense. But then I was like, okay, we're number one in Europe. I mean, French-speaking markets only represent maybe 30% of our revenue.
Okay.
So I need to speak in English, and I speak English, so it doesn't really make a difference. In this specific post, it's because it's a podcast in French. So I posted in French, but no, I try to post every time in English for sure.
Okay. But I think here is, I think it's a good post because at the end of the day, you went on a podcast and you just shared it.
Yeah.
I think it's great social proof. Being in the Bike It Down podcast shows you are someone who's important enough that people are like, I want this guy here. So as a rule of thumb, I'd say every time you get invited, I think it's cool to do so. Here, like you really like framed it in a storytelling sort of way. So talking about raising fund, the pressure, being a dad and running a business. It's something that like people can connect with on a very human basis. So I'd say like this is a great post and a great personable post, and I think that these posts are not the best sort of post to generate leads.
Yeah.
But we still are in the era where people buy from humans, and then just like humanizing yourself, showing that you're not just like a very successful CEO, but you're also someone who went through some troubles. Makes people want to root with you, like makes you look cool, makes you look vulnerable. Yeah. Sometimes it's the sort of thing that makes people want to work with you versus one of your competitors. And so, I wouldn't rely on this post for your sort of growth strategy, but I don't think there's anything bad about like making these sort of posts.
But do you think I should try to post, like you mentioned, like posting 5 times per week or 3 times? And should I plan once per week to have something more personal, or is just when it comes I just post it?
Yeah, I think when it comes, because like otherwise you are forcing the personal stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly. Which I am right now. I just post personal stuff. It's like Instagram.
So are you generating leads?
Not that much.
Okay.
Yeah, kind of, but not enough. But it's never enough, right?
Yeah, never enough. So this is a meme, right?
Yeah, that's from what I tried there. Is that something that happened into our leadership team? Mm-hmm. So that's our chief people officer.
Yeah.
And I tried to make it, I took the screenshot because I was like, okay, people can see a Slack message. It feels a bit personal. It talks about AI.
Yeah, he's making fun of you.
They're making fun of me for sure. And you look like 8 people, myself included, like making fun of this.
Yeah.
Because, we're very into AI. So I tried to show a bit like, behind the scene, trying to say, okay, that's a Slack message. People can try to see, okay, 10 members, okay, like
company culture.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I like it, like, because on top of being a great platform to generate leads, I think LinkedIn is a great employee branding platform.
Yeah.
And for us, like, we hired some machines because like they saw some of our LinkedIn.
Oh, really?
Right, yeah.
And they wanted to work with you because...
because instead of from the outside, you look cool guys.
And from the inside?
When they came in, I'm like, shit. I got trapped. Okay, so like lots of storytelling though, like here, right? I can still name the first 5 people who paid for Sortlist. Without them, the journey from 0 towards 10 million would have ended at 0. Okay, that's nice. The hardest part of that early stage is in the strategy is the isolation. Most startups don't die because of a bad product, they die because the founder burns out from a lack of support. If your friend is launching something, don't say, good luck, do this instead. Buy the product, write a review, connect them with people, share your launch post, give back. It's a nice post of you.
It's this one, when you say your friend don't like your LinkedIn.
Yeah,
that's exactly.
Yes.
And here I was quite disappointed because I was like, okay, I'm doing some social proof, whatever. I mean, it's quite okay for me. It's like, I don't know, it's like 40 posts, something like that.
40 likes?
40 likes.
48.
48. Mm-hmm. No, it used to be 47. But still, it's like, I expected more because I had some posts like in the hundreds, etc.
Yeah.
I thought it was a banger. You mentioned like you can feel it.
Yeah.
I really was convinced it would pick it more.
You cannot feel it yet.
No, not yet.
You need to write another 100 posts. But also, the algorithm is a bit unpredictable. It's like you could have made the same post at another time, and then it would just blow up. And then there is the inconsistency of when you post, it actually sort of makes a difference because you are not posting at the same time every day. So,
oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, this is what I was telling you, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah. Okay, this post is nice, though.
That's a podcast we released. Again, like...
Another podcast, yeah.
Yeah, so I tried to post, okay, like numbers into the headlines. Actually, wanted people to click more. Try to add some very cool pictures as well.
Yeah.
To guide people to listen to the episode.
But I think that here, it's a good example of having the good, because like this post performed quite well.
Yeah.
And to me, it does have the ingredients of a post that performs well, aka you have a hook with numbers. So it's like the 0 to 10 in 18 months is everybody wants to know how you did that.
Yeah.
Because who doesn't want to make arrive at 10 million after 18 months?
Yeah.
Yeah, like I would like to, I had show managed to do that. So congratulations on this, by the way.
Watch the podcast, and even after the podcast, I didn't manage to do it in 18 months, but
You didn't?
it's not me, it's the guy that we interviewed.
Okay, it's the guy that you
I wish I could go from 0 to 10. He's the guy that was behind Arcade's AI, like images
yeah.
AI.
Yeah.
And he basically explained all the playbook, like how he worked with influencers, etc. So he's the one that did that.
Okay.
And he shared all the stories, etc.
So people should watch this podcast.
I wish I could do that in 18 months. I mean, we'll see that. Let's take a meeting in 18 months to see
like if you added 10 million
to 20 million. Let's see.
Yeah. Okay, but this is a great hook, right? Like 0 to 10 in 18 months, and then saying it's not luck. I mean, I don't know if it adds too much, but like it does add something, because saying it's not luck implies that it's replicable, meaning, okay, now I can actually learn from that. But then obviously, like you have the construction where the goal is to get people to the podcast. You didn't include the link because otherwise it would have killed the reach. So sometimes you can, actually add the link, knowing that it will kill the reach, but that in the end, the fact that more people click directly on it, should have more people like on the podcast. But like that's sometimes I do it, sometimes I don't. And then here, like some very nice images. I think that if it was a podcast, there's probably no better visuals than that. We looked at a few of your posts, but what I'm not seeing is like posts that are directly redirected to your ICP.
Exactly.
Okay, those agencies. Where are these posts?
I don't know.
You don't have any?
I don't have any, because I was like, at first I talked to a lot of creators, and they say, just get started on the social platform and share what you enjoy. And so I shared my journey. I shared about books I'm reading and stuff. And I've rarely posted towards my ICP, because I'm like, okay, what can I say? But then obviously I have a lot of things to say. So I think maybe it comes back from I don't have a clear strategy around that. But I'm starting to think that, maybe there is a spot to climb in terms of, okay, that's the guy that helps agency generate leads or something like that.
Yeah.
Which to me would make sense, but I've never done that, and I think I should, right?
Yeah. I mean, I agree with the creators that share the advice, because so I think that the biggest reason why you wouldn't make it work on LinkedIn, especially in the beginning, is because you will lack consistency and you will just stop before you get any results.
Yeah.
And so I think you need to be pragmatic to the point where you say, the first thing I'll do is be consistent, and forcing yourself to be consistent for some amount of time. But then after a while, you need to be injecting those pieces that would translate to conversions. Because if you tell me that the content that you are publishing isn't translating to conversions, I will believe you, because the big issue here is that we are not talking directly to your persona.
Exactly.
And so you are not obliged to do all of your posts, but I'd say every week you should have at least a couple of publications that talk directly to their pain points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because right now there is not, I mean, you see that it's what I do, like internal news, like my journey, whatever, which is never focused on the pain of agencies. I mean, what we discussed basically at the beginning is true that, and I don't present the new features, like you mentioned a couple of things that we do. Obviously, I shared when we acquired Overloop, but I'm not self-promoting.
Okay.
I think it's very European to do that.
Yeah.
In the US, they are very promoting their stuff. They're very good at marketing themselves. Maybe it's a European thing to not do it or not dare to do it.
Yeah.
But you've started to do it yourself, like pushing like cases and stuff like.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm very aggressive in terms of promotion because I'm not on social media for likes. Yeah, like I like the likes, but I prefer the money. and so I'm always trying to connect the post to some tangible outcome that's related to what we offer. And so I think that's the next thing, like that's what we need to think of, is that if you want to make it work on LinkedIn, you need to find a few recurring formats that you can decline over and over and over, and that speak to your persona. Okay. Because that, to me, is the easiest way to stay consistent. And so, in your case, for example, like you wanna be thinking about what's some data points I have that no one else has on the market, which would be an edge in terms of, if I'm talking about this, I'm sharing some insights that no one else can share.
Yeah.
So to give you an example, it's like, say I think you were talking about the fact that you were talking with a big SEO agency last week.
Yeah.
Which means that because you have so much traffic from people that are working for agencies,
yeah,
you are in a situation where you must be talking to a lot of very successful agency founders. Right?
Yes.
And I think that this should be one of your formats, aka some sort of experience sharing of what makes agency founders successful. So now, to give you an example, so like I'd make it for you, is like, how many agency founders do you estimate you have talked to in the past year?
Like thousands. Like
thousands?
Yeah. In the last 10 years, like 5,000, 6,000 more.
Okay. Because if I were you, I would make a post along these lines. I would be like, I've talked with 1,000 agency founders in the past year, but here's the big difference I see between the ones who make it big and the ones who don't. Something like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you have talked with these guys.
Yeah, sure.
And whenever you talk to these guys, you know more or less at what review point they are. And I'm assuming that you are seeing some sort of patterns.
Sure.
Like I think you said it like in the beginning of the meeting, you said, in this conversation, you said, I had the big guys that don't track anything, but like it's the...
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They just feel it works and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I have tons of examples. You know, like I've started to think about it. Of course, there is that dopamine when you post on LinkedIn. It's like you don't do it for the like. At the end of the day, you do it to generate business. That's for sure.
Okay.
But that's still, I assume, about the flow.
Yeah.
When you niche down like this, like what my fear is, if I go to talk about my startup journey of a founders that like makes it to $10 million, I feel that that's something that makes me unique and that will talk to any founders that wants to scale a business.
Yeah.
So it brings reach.
Yeah.
But then I feel that if I go and I niche down towards agencies, a lot of my audience that I've built will not like enjoy it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I know that that's how I'm going to make money. See, that's weird because, I mean, 40 likes is not something huge, but probably I feel that if I start to talk and post only about agency stuff, I will get to 5 likes. But maybe it's the 5 most valuable likes I can never have.
Yeah.
So,
because then that's the question like that you're asking yourself. It's like, would you rather have 10 likes and one very big lead, or have like 100 likes and then zero money? But the beauty of it is that you don't even need to ask yourself this question. You just want to be thinking about your strategy as some sort of funnel, where you have some top of funnel pieces, which are going to be your experience as an entrepreneur, the behind the scenes, some just like broader advice. And what will happen with this is that they will put more people into your ecosystem. And the reason why you want to have this kind of pieces is because someone might not be an agency owner, but they might be connected to an agency owner, which means that now, like, they have you on their radar. But then, like, once you have this bulk of audience, then you want to get them low to the bottom of the funnel, right? And so you will need to accept the fact that some of the pieces you make will have fewer likes, but that they will be like still generating cash. So if you had a cadence of 4 publications per week, and you had like 2 top or middle of funnel pieces and then like 2 bottom of funnel pieces that talk to agencies, then you will be like, you know that the reason why you are flopping isn't because you are flopping, just because you are addressing a different persona, and you're able to still get the dopamine of having some posts that go like high in terms of like, plus it serves your overall content strategy because it means more people into your ecosystem. And so I'd say let's do this perhaps, right?
Yeah.
Just keep like 2 posts that are like, what you want to post about, like just keep it wide. And it's great because now you can keep experimenting, and then just by experimenting and being like just like pretty open to any format, you might land on some format that just does both reach and revenue.
Yeah.
And then you say, okay, but I need this to make some cash. Otherwise, as a CEO of an 8-figure company, you are wasting your time.
Yeah, exactly.
For dopamine, right?
That's a bit where I am right now. It's like, okay, do I double down on the channel, or do I go and spend my time elsewhere? Because when you start LinkedIn, there is a learning curve. It's time consuming, and I don't believe into the ghostwriting model.
Yeah.
To me, it's like I've tried before. Like some of my teammates, very good content writer, like world class, and they try to write posts, but you read it and you feel like it might be good, but it's not you, and I don't like it. And some people ask me like, do you post yourself? And I'm like, okay, I have a hard time believing that having a ghostwriter could work. And so to me, it's important to write it myself. And that's why right now, okay, either I go to 30K or I stop.
Yeah.
But I don't want to stop because it still brings value. I'm feeling that in terms of awareness, it's good as well.
Yeah.
But I cannot tell you like, okay, it generated 1 million ARR, for instance. Now, but it's going to change, right?
Yeah, it's going to change. Because what I suggest is this, like, I think we can get the best of both worlds. So essentially what you're going to do is you're going to do this. You're going to do 2 posts per week, which are going to be like completely YOLO, because you are a YOLO kind of guy. You like to wake up some mornings and to be like, okay, today I want to talk about, I want to share a meme because some guy from my team roasted me. Let's go, right?
Yeah.
And I think like this gives you an authentic kind of vibe. Some people will reconnect with the human being and not the business person.
Yeah.
And I think it's great because I feel like, at the end of the day, it's like personal branding. It still is something where you want to showcase some of your personality.
Yeah.
This makes you different from the others. But then what you want to do is you want to have like 2 posts per week where you're going to be very strict about like, it needs to bring values to agencies, right? And so here, what you want to do is you want to experiment with some formats, because even though you're niching down and you need to accept that you get fewer likes, you can still find a good balance between good performance and, reach. And so I have some ideas. So like, I think that like one thing you should do is, say once per month, one time per month, one of your content formats should be some sort of like, you talking about your experience, just like talking with so many agency founders and really like contrasting, not the great and the
okay one.
Yeah. But yeah, like the ones who make it for quest,
Survive.
yeah, versus the ones who just barely survive versus the ones who thrive. I think it's an amazing angle, and it's like on this very topic, you might be the top 1 expert in the world, because like,
that's right.
There is a likelihood that there's no one that has talked to as many agency founders
probably
as you have, right? Which means you are the highest authority on this topic. And so it'd be amazing. And even like for me, I'm telling you, like it'd be like an amazing content to consume. It'd be amazing just to have this sort of rough idea of, okay, like that's what the 7, 8, and 9-figure agencies do, and that's what the one that stays stuck under 6 figures do. It's like, I think it's a great angle. Now, because it's some sort of collection of lots of conversations, it's difficult to be as consistent as doing it every week.
Yeah.
But I think it's a great one. So I'd say this should be one you do.
Once per month.
Yeah, once per month. It's like contrasting successful agency versus not. Then, 1 times per week. Now, I think here, so one thing that works pretty well on LinkedIn is the joint posts. Okay. What you want to do is you want to associate your brand with the brand of a creator that would make it work well. And so to give you an example, it's like on our own content, one thing that we've done a lot is we'd make some posts where we would expose the branding playbook or the growth playbook of a company.
Yeah.
So for example, I would expose the the tech stack or like the brand playbook from Lemlist or like from some other companies. So like see
Beautiful.
like what Lemlist funnel looks like. So for example, what I would suggest here is that there are a lot of agencies that publish on LinkedIn. Is you doing some sort of breakdown of what makes agency successful. It could be like carousel style, I can be your first guinea pig, by the way, could say
Nice.
could say Michel Liben, to 7
We have a deal.
here, and I can like hear all of his secrets, something like this. And then it's just like, like just like me sharing them and then like just package them well inside of a nice carousel. And the reason why I think it's a great format is because it's replicable.
Yeah,
For me, then you find like another one, and every week you are sharing insights from like a 7, 8, 9-figure agency. I think you were talking with a guy that has a CEO agency that I believe is much bigger than the agency. So imagine like if you're able to get like his advice out in your world, and now you become a place for agencies know that every week I'm gonna get the playbook of a guy that runs the exact same business model I do, but that's much more successful than I am.
And you would push like the tools, like the mistakes or things like that. Like what would be?
I think that top tips, X like 3X tools, because then you can plug your own tool.
Yeah, exactly. The body sweat.
Bonus, and then like you said, like the challenges, mistake, like the things that like some beginners do all the time or something. I mean, I wouldn't think about it too much. It's just like you ask them and then you combine the best insights, and as you do it week after week, the format is gonna evolve. But I think like a carousel would be a great thing, because like in the carousel you can put the image of the agency founder you're interviewing, yours, and then like the top tips.
Yeah.
9-figure founder or 7-figure founder. We see it on the title, so it makes people to want to click.
Yeah.
And then like you want to start the post with some headlines that's like super impressive. So I don't know if like in my case the most impressive thing you could say would be like a Mission Liben scales his agency to $7 million under 3 years, for example, and like so that would be something along the lines of, and it's more replicable than you think.
You won't believe what it did. Like
like I think not.
You won't believe the perfect.
For example, or you could say, it's actually easier than you think. Simpler than you think. Like something that just like makes you want to click more. And then the carousel is a great format for LinkedIn, so people will go like.
It still works, carousel and stuff.
Yeah.
Really? That's the secret hack.
It's carousel to them fail.
Really? Because that's the tips I read, and I'm not personally very into carousel,
Okay.
But everybody says it works. You say it works, so I'm gonna try it. But sometimes it's not about what you like, but what you dislike. And sometimes if I don't like it, I don't do it.
Yeah.
And I think I miss a lot of opportunities.
Yeah, because what you need to think of is like the reason why a carousel works, even though you don't consume the carousel, is because let's say I make a post like this one, right? And I say, so you have this carousel, and I say I failed 7 businesses, but then actually you're not obliged to go to the carousel. You can just read this.
Yeah, sure.
So what that means is that some people will just read the text. Some people will just go through the carousel because they like that there are some images, that you like these images.
Yeah, it's very nice.
It's very nice, right? And then, and then some people will do both. But that means that like the overall average dwell time is going to increase, because you're just giving more elements for people to look at. So that's essentially what's happening. Is you just think about the post that you make, the usual post, and then now you think, okay, you know what? Let me just add some sort of visual that just supports it, and people are not even obliged to consume the visual to understand the entirety of the post. But if you do it, it's a bonus. And like this, I can tell you, is very likely to 2x or more the impressions you get from the posts.
Nice. And you have a designer that do everything, because I feel that you manage your personal brand.
I do, yeah.
like an actual brand, like colors, like the font, etc. is very cool.
I mean, the moment I understood that it was so valuable in terms of business generation, I feared I had to stay on top of this, just because, as you know, historically it was 80% of the business on that. Now it's still like over 60%.
Yeah.
And so it's like when you have something, it's like last month we closed over $1 million in recurring revenue. And I know for a fact that 60% of this came from LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So
you're willing to invest, like.
Yeah, it became my most important thing to do. Yeah. So
and still post yourself. That's great, because at the end of the day, you would think, how do I scale this? So you have a small team that works for you, or like?
I mean, I get some help, but I still write these myself. Okay, and post them myself. Yeah. It's like sometimes, it's this whole saying like do the unscalable things.
Yeah.
It's like for me, like the most scalable thing for LinkedIn is to take care of it myself, because I don't scale because I'm able to push more pieces. I'm scaling because whenever I push a piece, I'm sort of not guaranteed, but it's been the case for the past few months. I know that it's gonna get more than 10,000 views.
Yeah, exactly.
And so if I know that there's gonna be more than 10,000 views, it's okay for me to spend an hour writing it and publishing it.
Yeah, exactly.
On my own. Yeah.
I mean, if you say you generated 1 million ARR, that's worth it, right?
Yeah, it is, right? So as long as it does that, I'll continue.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'll say like one should be this like playbook of successful agencies. And then for the second, I think what you should do is you should look at people who target the same persona as you.
Okay.
And then look at the content that they make that performs. So for example, to give you an example, it's like I use Scribe.io.
Yeah.
And so we can make the test. We can make the test on my profile with Scribe.
Mm-hmm.
And so what you can do is if you have if like, because I also target agencies, right? Somehow.
Yeah.
So let's say, because like what I would advise you to do would be to create some sort of short list of all the successful people that target agencies that generate like a good chunk of impressions. And once you have this list, you use a platform like Scribe, and then like they've got this sort of own feed where you see like all of the posts, and then you can just filter for that post that outperformed. And so what I would do here is like I would say, for example, on my end, because I have 60,000 plus followers, you look at only posts that have had, say, 300 views. And then to find those formats, you'd want the post to have been published like not too long ago. So I see here that we have posts like for the last 3 months. And then you'd apply the filters. And then here, you just be like looking at all of these posts. And then you could like sort of, guess something. So here, for example, we actually have an interesting post because I did a post that had, I think this was 50K views.
Okay.
And here I broke down the entirety of how my agency works, right? The anatomy. And then like I just like went from traffic generation to sales process to delivery process. Now,
as usual,
it was a big one. Because like what you could do, and that would depend on how much access those agency owners would give you, would be to, present the information in a similar way. Because the reason why it works is because it's extremely extensive. And so if you were able to do, say, once every 2 weeks, some sort of breakdown of the inner workings of an agency, and then make a similar schema, then you'd have a proven format, because you'd see that like this works, and you'd be able to replicate over and over and over, right? And so here, like the idea is just shortlist creators. I don't know if you have some other some creators that are pretty good at LinkedIn or targeting agencies.
Called like QT.
Yeah, and you could go and check like the whole collective team and see what they post about. But like the idea here is really that it's like you really want to look at, say, your competitors people that talk about the same topics as you, and you really look at who makes content I would like to make.
Yeah.
I think, for example, Adam Robinson, he was targeting agencies as well. And then it's like, okay, now how can I replicate this kind of content? Because, and this is actually something I advise that most people to do, is really like shortlist creators, and then you would even like almost spend a day just studying their content.
Reverse engineering.
Yeah, reverse engineering the thing. As in, like, you want to understand like what hooks were used for these viral content pieces. That you want to understand what sort of visuals they used. Then you want to look at the topics. Are there some trendy topics? And then once you see enough of them, you go into this pattern recognition mode.
Yeah.
Where essentially then you have a much better idea of what could potentially perform. But also the idea is that for me the biggest reason why people fail at LinkedIn is because they have no sort of goal to strive for, as in they don't know what great looks like.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they have actually never looked at what performs on the platform, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you same idea, like Adam has 150k followers, so like you could go 400, then apply a filter, and then like it will just really be about looking at his best piece. And here, by the way, like he's making some sort of personal storytelling. So I bootstrap my first startup.
Yeah, exactly. You see all the ingredients that you mentioned.
Yeah, exactly. You see that almost each of his hook has some big number. You see 1 billion.
Yeah, exactly.
And 7 million error under 2 years.
You know that our B2B is actually something that we built like Sortlist Radar. It's a bit similar. Like you can put it on your website, and we give you the company, like what I explained on the directory. We have something similar.
Nice, cool, amazing.
I'm gonna check Adam. So you basically have your swipe file of creators, type of post, and that's what you look for.
Exactly. And so then you'll have as a summary, you'll have this sort of like a big format that's like really thinking about what some data points, some information, some insights that only me have. And as you share this, now it's really sharing this in the place of you're the biggest authority in the world. Then you also think about the sort of exclusive access you have. So in this case, you're talking about this agency founders means you can share their playbook, and this is a replicable format. Then you want to look at all of the people in your niche, or targeting the same people, like what do they write, and then you use a tool like Scribe. You're gonna go filter for the post that had the most likes, and then just save as much as possible to see what to replicate.
Yeah.
And then you should be able to land on at least a couple of formats that you can just go and do every week. And then once you have that, I believe you really have the foundation for a great content strategy. And this is now the moment where you can start thinking about the hacks, because there are some hacks.
There are some hacks.
You want to hear about the hacks?
Of course.
Okay, so you said that,
I love the hacks.
You noticed that I was liking all of my posts.
Yeah. So, which is a bit cringe, no? No?
It is cringe.
Yeah, but it works.
I mean, to be honest, I don't know if it still works that much, so I know for a fact that there was a time where it was pushing a bit more impressions to the algorithm. And so I was like, okay, I'm taking this. So I would like all of my posts, and I still do this because it doesn't seem to hurt, right?
Yeah, sure.
Sometimes you have some habits, and then you're afraid to stop the habits because it's imagine if I stop.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the thing is, my routine whenever I post some content is that before I post, I'm gonna do some engagement.
Okay.
Just a little bit of engagement, So 15 minutes before the post, just sort of warm up the account. LinkedIn seems to enjoy that you're active and you're not just entering the platform.
Yeah, that you're
leaving the platform. Yeah. Then the second thing that I will do, so it's I will do prepare my post, and I will hit the publish button, but then I still my post, and you want to reply to every single person that commented in the first 30 minutes.
Okay.
Because like, when you see a number of comments, you should know that this number of comments, when it says 1,000 plus comments,
I take yours as well.
it actually takes yours, yeah. And so, yeah. By the way, which shows another hack, which is, and I'd say don't overdo it. Like here, you see that I made a post that was talking about cloud code, and in the end I did a comment replay to get some recording and playbook. So don't overuse it, because I see some people that exclusively grow their audiences through this. Then what happens is that whenever they make a post that's not a sort of comment lead magnet post, then the post just like thanks,
Okay.
Yeah. But sometimes, like, I'd say do it, especially if you have like a great resource. Yeah. As you see, like the impressions are huge, like in like 90K impressions on that one, and then like it's 140K impressions on that one, and we're still getting some comments. So yeah, so like this is another hack.
Nice.
Then when you post every day, 6 hours after you post, and it can be 6, 7, 8 hours, it depends, right? You repost the publication. So what I usually do is that I usually have a repost from the day prior.
Okay.
So it means when I go on my LinkedIn, I delete the repost, and then I make my post on the day. So we don't see like it doesn't look like
you delete your repost. Okay.
Yeah, you delete the repost, but you do the repost, and the repost will push the publication
Okay.
in front of for me the US, because now I'm trying to get them too, and so it means that at around 11:30 I'm publishing my first piece. At around 6 p.m. Belgium time, you've got the repost, and now you have the Americans that can just engage with the publication.
Okay. And you like it directly when you post, or are you the first liker of your post?
Yeah.
First fan.
Like you see one like. Then like also one thing we do is that we have a Slack channel where like here the company, so you could do this as well. Like we have a Slack channel where we share our content, and so here you just see it. It's like you have people sharing their content, which means that because you have people from your team engaging, there are more people that will be seeing the post as well.
Yeah, sure.
So like that's something I would advise you to do. One thing that you should absolutely do as well is reuse your best hits. And so I think that, because if I were to go on your profile, so like say we go on your profile and we look at your analytics, and let's say we look at your best performing post in the last like 3 months, or let's do 365 days. Like if you take your best performing post in the last 365 days, and then you just like repost them, slightly change them, just like improve them slightly, then I guarantee that they're gonna perform perhaps even better this time you did. Yeah. And so here the dirty secret is that if you look at the post here, you see like these posts, let me recently closed 34 million error, we just crossed 100,000 error, like it's the same format, it's the same structure.
Yeah, sure.
But the biggest predictor of the fact that a post is gonna explode is the fact that like the format exploded before.
Yeah.
And so what I advise you to do is like, say one post we do a lot at Code Like You is we say top 10 tools to blah, blah, So for example, we'll say like top 10 tools for GTM engineers. For you, it could be like top 10 tools for agencies.
Yeah.
If I see that the post went well, then I will wait for a couple of months, Everybody would have forgotten the post, and then we'll just add 2 tools. So now like the post is going to become top 12 tools. And now I'm just sharing more tools that were genuinely helpful, and so it just brings more value. And at some point you really build up a library of content pieces that outperform, which helps you stay consistent, because you can just like take a post that had performed some time ago, you just like refresh it slightly, and then you already know that it's a proven piece of content.
That's nice.
Yeah. And it's this, like I heard this quote somewhere, like some magician that makes the same trick. And I think it's a famous magician, and he says, yeah, I don't need to find new tricks, I just need any audience to show them to. And so I like this idea where essentially like you want new people to see this post. So you shouldn't care that like your existing audience has seen them, because at the end of the day, after a window of time, they will not don't remember, and they will or will not become customers of yours. And then it's like at any given amount of time, perhaps just 1-2% of your audience has seen your post, so it will be shown in front of more people. So yeah, so it's just like if you have a banger, it's just like you just put it there.
That's nice. Yeah. That's why your top post looks the same, right?
Exactly. Like you'll see like the post, see like here once again, 2 funnels.
And the same colors and stuff. I mean, it's very consistent.
Yeah. Here, I would really advise you to find a designer. I will give you the contact of my designer for sure. So yeah, I think we went over most of it. Do you have any question?
I mean, I just need to do it, no?
I think you need to do it. How confident are you about making it work now?
Super confident, because you gave me all the posts. I think I like the idea of a mix with art and science.
Okay.
I know I'm going to have the discipline and the routine. I think I can learn a lot. I'm willing to do the efforts.
Yeah.
So I think 30K is, maybe I should aim for more, though.
Yeah. Still a big challenge.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
But you trust me.
Yeah. I think that you have all of the ingredients for someone that's going to be successful. It's like you already have had successful pieces. So it's a game of having right. Second, you have insane social proof. Some people have been able to make it work as in like the 11 to 30K with no social proof. But it's like for you, you are actually sharing some great insights from your own journey. aka like I don't know very few people who have been able to like create a company and then make it grow to 8 figures. Like you are like a very aware, like you're an anomaly somehow, right? Which like makes you stand out. For one, and at the same time, because of your business, you're also able to meet some interesting people who happen to be the perfect model for your target market, right? aka you're able to share the story of successful agencies, which will make some wannabe successful agencies want to listen to you.
Yeah, right.
And so from there, I think you can get a good market. And so I think this mix of sharing your own entrepreneurship journey, sharing the playbooks of the successful agencies, using some tools for content inspiration, and then using these small hacks, and then playing with the formatting, the packaging.
Yeah.
If you really manage to combine all of this and then be consistent to say at least 3 times per week, I have no doubts that if you don't manage to get to 30K, you'll be at 25K, so that will be like a small miss.
That's a good deal, huh?
It's a good deal.
25K, that's nice.
Perfect. We should check back in 3 months to see.
Yeah, let's do it.
To see progress.
Let's write that in the agenda.
Perfect.
Thanks, Mitch.
Nicolas, thank you very much for this. And I'm sure you'll crush it.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.